This program was made possible in part by a grant from Florida Public Broadcasting Service, Incorporated.
Sometimes people say, well, you're only 22, and I have to think, and I go, yes, I'm only 22. Sometimes I feel like I'm 42.
Terry Jones has achieved more fame than most people twice her age. As a model, a pilot, and the wife of Nautilus exercise equipment inventor Arthur Jones. Hello, and welcome to Southern Circuit. I'm Rick Stone. This week, Southern Circuit travels to Lake Helen, home of the Nautilus Corporation, and to Silver Springs, home of Miss Nautilus, Terry Jones. Back in Tallahassee, we'll drop in at the Florida Governor's Mansion to meet the woman responsible for making the First Family's house home, not only for the Grahams, but for all the people of Florida. Brother Joe Ranieri is a man with a mission to help the hungry and homeless in Palm Beach County. A mission impossible it's not, as we found when we stopped in West Palm Beach at the Lord's Place. Our journey concludes this week in Gainesville at a very unusual place, the Santa Fe Teaching Zoo, the only zoo in the world with a college on its campus. That's our itinerary. Stay with us and enjoy the journey as we take to the road for this week's Southern Circuit.
I think it's called drive, and I think you're either born with it or you're not.
No doubt Terry Jones was. Between the ages of 11 and 17, she competed in more than 40 beauty contests. At 16, Terry had her own modeling school. And today, at 22, the ambitious wife of 58-year-old Nautilus equipment inventor Arthur Jones, Terry runs 50% of the Nautilus Corporation.
I had this ambition. I wanted to get to a certain point, and it's not really like you know what you want to do. It's just a success, a certain point in business or whatever you choose to do. At 10, I started working in that direction, and I'm still working in that direction. I didn't go to high school. I tutored through high school, and a lot of kids said, well, gosh, you know, you're missing so much, and other parents would say, well, your daughter's really she's gonna rebel on you later because she's not being a normal child. You know, she's missing all the fun parties and the basketball games and the football games. To succeed, which she may never do. But I think it was all worth it. I'm still waiting to regret it. If not, I don't think I would be as far as I were now. Success takes a lot of sacrifices, and I realized that at that age, and I still do.
Welcome back to the Miss Nautilus contest. Before we find out who the new Miss Nautilus will be, let's take one last look at our 20 beautiful contestants.
Girls enter beauty contests not necessarily to say I'm Miss so-and-so or I'm this or I'm that, a number of titles. It's just to meet people that are more important who can help you get a better job, modeling, if you want to act or model or whatever you want to do. It's just sort of a quicker way to meeting the right people. The last beauty contest that I entered, I met my husband, Arthur Jones, and I think it was all worth it just to meet him, and then everything's just happened so fast since then. It's been fantastic. He sort of accelerated my success and growth. Well, I've been flying since I was 17. Arthur taught me. He's a pilot, and he's an instructor pilot. He's got 25,000 hours, which is more than almost probably any airline captain. He's been flying so long, so he's a good instructor. I have a little 182, Cessna 182 airplane that I fly around Florida. I fly to Tampa, get my hair cut in. Everybody thinks it's so strange. But he started teaching me in that. And now I've gone on to fly the Citation, and I hope to get my rating in the 707 before November. And then in November, we're going to do a trip around the world to try to break a recent speed record that's held by a woman. It's just an opportunity. It's sort of things come together and present themselves in this opportunity, and I think I would really be foolish if I missed the chance to do something like that, because it'd probably be a record that would hold for many years. And I think I have sort of a natural knack for it. It's a little bit of coordination combined with skill and reaction time. It's very exciting. I hope to continue with it and go as far as I can. When I first married Arthur, I said, well, all of a sudden I'm going to have all this money, I'm going to be rich at 18 years old, and sometimes that can be a disadvantage because it can take away a lot of your drive. And it almost did. I said, well, I don't have to work. And I've got all this and I don't even have to work. But I said, well, you're going to have to work anyway. Money is really only, it just provides the opportunity or the chance to do things. It's sort of a tool to get where you're going a little bit faster. With my flying, I can do it fast. People say, well, how can you've only been flying a few years and you've gotten so far along when it usually takes other people 10 years. Well, flying is very expensive, and the money has helped to help me to do it faster.
Besides her work behind the scenes at Nautilus Corporation, Terry is still best known for what she does in front of the camera for Nautilus.
You have to be real thin for modeling, so I was always very thin, but I was never in shape. At the time, being fit was not really the thing to do. Just being skinny was good enough. Now I work out 3 days a week when I can, when we're not traveling. Sometimes it's hard when you're on the road and you're traveling, but when I'm here, I make myself work out 3 days a week.
You say you make yourself, is it really rough?
The hardest part of anything is just getting started, just getting motivated in there to do that first machine. And after you're finished, you feel so good. You feel like you've really done something, you've really accomplished something. I really couldn't get through most of the days if I were not on an exercise program, because I do a lot of studying with my flying. I have to sit down for hours and hours and hours with books. And just going out and working out sort of gets the circulation going. You think better, you think more clear. So I really couldn't make it through a lot of days without that working out. A lot of people say, I just don't have the energy. Well, you don't, but you really have more energy if you just go out and do it. I'm only 22. Sometimes I feel like I'm 42. I feel like I should be 42 with all the experience and everything that I'm exposed to at this age. And sometimes that's good and sometimes it's not good. Sometimes I think, oh, I want to go back and just be 20 and act 20 and goof off and waste my time and do nothing, but you can't do that. You just sort of got to stick with it, stay with it, and stick it out.
What do, Art, when that's through, is put that in the Cuisinart. Okay. And then add it back to it, and that'll help thicken it up, don't you think?
I think so.
It's a big place, and it doesn't run itself.
Running a household can be a full-time job, but when the house is the governor's mansion, well, there's no question about it. That's what NELLA Schomburger says, and she ought to know. For almost 4 years now, she's had the job of turning this grand house into a home for Florida's first family.
One of the things that we wanted to do here was to make this home for all Floridians, opening it up for regular visits, for tours, for special events. That means that the person in NELLA's position has not only got to be managing a large house, but also managing a public operation. And she does it with tremendous charm, grace, calm, precision. Just could not have done a better job in making this home a public house.
I was in the airport waiting for my son to come home for his first time from college, and Mrs. Graham was waiting for Gwen, and she said, I'm in big trouble. Can you come and work at the governor's mansion for 5 weeks until we have time to hire a mansion manager or interview a mansion manager? And that has been 3.5 years ago, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm responsible for everything excluding the grounds. Upkeep of the mansion, the maintenance, the staterooms, the menus.
They've been in there over an hour.
Generally, I need to keep the family happy. And of course, I also have to keep the state of Florida happy. Let me see. I guess that's what it is. It's keeping the mansion running smoothly, and it really is like running a hotel. I mean, you're trying to get everybody's schedules organized. No one ever eats at the same time. We have a wonderful chef and a cook.
She's amazing. Sometimes we're just doing a tremendous party, and she's able just to glide through and she's the hostess for the mostest. I'm serious. She can make that person feel at home and all is well in the kitchen. Everything may be chaos in the back, but it's just that's one thing about entertaining, is that people pick up on moods, and it's so important to do that, is to make sure that you make your guests feel warm and at home, and she's excellent at that.
It's an act. That I think I probably learned in my catering business, because if there's anything that's important, is for me to look cool, calm, and collected. Even if everything is falling down around your ears, you need to make the hostess feel confident. So you really can. I mean, you just have to be calm.
I'll tell you what, 3 out of a big state like Florida, and they must be very proud. That's exciting. 4.8. Oh, I know it. That's great. Good luck. Did you get enough to eat?
I have met a lot of interesting people, and that is, of course, I think the highlight of the job. Plus working with the Grahams, who are, it's a very warm, outgoing family, and that's been a lot of fun. But as far as other people coming in, I guess the highlight would have to be when Mikhail Baryshnikov came and danced, and we had the after the show party here, and it was wonderful. It was just a lot of fun.
Do people ever mistake you for being the First Lady of Florida?
They do, so I've tried to cut my hair a little different. Because if you've never seen her in real life, she's very tall and very lovely and dark-haired. So if you come in the front door and you see a dark-haired person, you think, well, that's probably Mrs. Graham. You know, and of course, she probably is out of town. So to save them embarrassment, I try to look different, and right away I say, I'm Nella Schomburger, welcome to the Governor's Mansion, you know, so there won't be any doubt in their mind as quickly as I can.
They do look a lot alike, and they've got a lot of personality similarities.
You've not mistaken her?
Not yet.
It is hard work, but I don't think I could go and sit in an office from 8 to 5. Oh, I know I couldn't. There's always something going on here that's fun and interesting. It doesn't feel like a real state job.
Save your container for more soup. God bless you.
The Lord's Place Soup Kitchen has been serving Palm Beach County's poor and homeless for the last 4 years, thriving on the selflessness of some 250 volunteers and a whole community of caring people.
We have a lot of hunger and a lot of hardship here. The outside public don't realize how much we have here in West Palm Beach. And the soup kitchen here, we have volunteers 5 days a week, consisting of 3 or 4 people each morning, and then we have some other outside volunteers that come in their spare time. We serve soup, and cheese, whenever we possibly have cheese, surplus cheese, and the goodness of outside help. People supply us with some cold cuts sometimes from our party. Bread companies are very good. The big stores are very good. Surplus bread and cake and so forth. And the volunteers make soup themselves and bring them in. And we run out of that. We have canned soup here supplied by the kitchen. And we have clothes that are brought in here by the public that they don't fit anymore or don't want, and we'll gladly accept any clothes, utensils for the homes or anything like that to help these people to get going again.
What's it like for you to be a part of this?
Well, it's very rewarding, and sometimes it's very tough to take to see some sad cases here. You wish you could do a little more for the people, but sometimes you just can't do any more than you can do. Wish I had $1 million to pass it around to help someone.
In addition to the soup kitchen, which feeds some 200 to 300 people a week, The Lord's Place also runs a family shelter for the homeless in what used to be a motel on West Palm Beach's Broadway Street. A lot of unselfish people worked to keep it going, but it all came about through one man's amazing sense of compassion. Known simply as Brother Joe, Joe Ranieri rallied his community to a need few others had even recognized.
This being supposedly an affluent area, and it is an affluent area, the very rich have plenty. As a matter of fact, I think I've heard it said that the rich have plenty of friends, but the poor have few people they can even turn to. And I guess you've heard that when you're on top, everybody's your friend, and when you're on the bottom, nobody wants to know you. But in this county, you either have the super wealthy, or you have the extremely wealthy, or you have the middle class. Not from the middle class to me is really people who are just making out normal, but or you have the very, very poor. I guess you'd have every strata of economic situations, but for the most part we have an awful lot of poor people here. And I think in South Florida, being in Palm Beach County, I don't think they like to face that. The Lord's Place, Brother Joe. Okay, well,
a deacon at St. Juliana's Catholic Church, Brother Joe took to the streets to raise the money needed to open the shelter.
I was trying to figure out how could I get a shelter for families going. And the best thing I could come up with is that knowing the human mind and knowing the way people think, I know that you have to keep something in their at their attention for an extended period of time, because all of us are guilty of compassionizing with the poor and then forgetting about it because our lives go on, which is normal, it's understandable. So what I decided to do was to spend 30 days living in the street. And I slept on the steps of a Catholic church, and I had permission to do that. And I had a sign that said that I was living in the street and please help me raise money for a family shelter. Well, at the end of 30 days, I raised $100,000. When I first came here, I came here with my family. I had 2 little boys and my wife, and when we came here with nothing, really. We left from New York City. So I understand pretty much what it feels like to be in a situation where you don't have a home, or you have very little money, and you're really struggling and trying to make it. For the most part, we take in families here at the shelter, and we've taken in, since we opened July 20th of last year, 120 families. And the families situation is just about anything you can imagine. We've had families in here where the children have been raped. We've had families in here where they were sleeping in parks, or they were sleeping in their car. I had one family, the mother was 8 months pregnant, and she was sleeping in a car. Now, I don't think I would have to tell any woman what it must feel like to sleep in a car while you're 8 months pregnant. But they left here with $1,200, and they have an apartment of their own.
What's taking place here is a wonderful thing that Brother Joe is doing. It's amazing. Now, since last July, we've put about 120 families through this program that are out. They're not on welfare, they're not on home relief. They have a job, an apartment, a little dignity, which means a lot. Means a hell of a lot.
The reality is that most of the people who end up in these types of situations are making the minimum wage, which is $3.35 an hour. And that minimum wage is expected for most people who do not have trades, is supposed to provide for their children, if they have children, food, shelter, probably payments on a broken down car, payments on broken down furniture, and so forth and so on. And I would defy anyone, not as a test for a week, but to just go along regularly and try to survive on $150, $200 a week, which is the amount of money you're going to be left with a minimum wage, if you know basic mathematics. I think it's absurd that in 1984 that people are expected to live on this type of an income and not get behind in the rent, especially when they're paying a minimum of $350, $400 a month rent, and now they're only making $150 a week. I think it's only natural that they're going to have that downward spiral. And I think that realistically, the minimum wage should be $7 or $8 an hour. I've always been kind of an empathetic soul, I think you probably would say. But the amusing thing that I find out is that I personally have received a lot of awards for things that we all should be doing. Why do you have to receive awards today for what you ought to be doing?
No, it's not an alien from outer space, though it could pass for E.T.'s cousin. It's a green-cheeked Amazon parrot, the runt of the litter, and one of many exotic animals that live at the Santa Fe Teaching Zoo.
The collection here is approximately 250 animals. The animals are selected for their qualities of being able to be used for teaching the students, as well as the hardiness of the animals in many cases. We try to vary the collection with birds and primates and snakes and hoof stocks so that the students get an experience with all the different kinds of animals, not just one specific animal.
Surprisingly, the Santa Fe Community College Biological Parks program is the only place in the country where students can learn zookeeping in an actual zoo setting.
Okay, now you can go back with your mother and father, if we can get you in the opening.
Want another pair of hands?
Yes. He's got my shirt. Claws are designed to hang on.
Sort of smell.
And to keep him from falling out of the nest.
They're really the only school in the United States that has actual hands-on experience with animals like this. In a classroom, you can learn the techniques and the ideas behind it, but you don't really get the actual hands-on experience of how to do it and, you know, what to do if in the process of doing, let's say, a catch-up of a monkey or whatever, and it's not going as planned, how to automatically, in your mind, change gears and do something else. So it teaches you to think in action instead of on paper.
Okay. Let's go ahead and sex this one first. And you know how to do it, right?
I've seen it done here.
Somebody needs to restrain the body here.
Just a matter of...
Okay, let's make sure it's all turned in the right direction.
No,
okay.
The main thing is...
You go lateral. And if it doesn't go in, it's female.
You know, there's some resistance on this side.
Okay,
so
then you don't go in any. You're right.
It's...
Hopefully the student that graduates from this program will be qualified to work in pretty much any area in the zoo. We even have our own kitchen where the students spend the entire semester in the kitchen cutting diets. And then the next semester they're rotated from that area into another area in the zoo, and we've divided the zoo up into 5 areas. And the students have to rotate each semester, so they spend about 14 weeks each in these areas, and they get a well-rounded, at least what we feel is a well-rounded education.
Yesterday when I was at the zoo, Edgar had a bald spot when he moved his feathers up, you know, the side, his wings, and there wasn't any, it was just white. There weren't any feathers or anything.
What would it be?
I don't know. I was wondering if maybe they weren't...
Apteria. Birds normally have long naked strips. When you get a bird, you know, who stands this high at the back, this high at the head, these strips can sometimes be several inches across, these naked apteria, and feathers simply don't grow there. The people who come in this program are generally bright, they're energetic, though in the summertime I kind of wonder. They're a lot of fun, so I kind of have a combination of really great things. I'm outdoors, I get to work with animals, which I love, I get to work with people, which I love, and it's a lot of fun.
And that one up there sucking his toe. These are called white-handed gibbons. These monkeys are what they call arboreal. That means that in the wild, They stay up in the treetops.
Students are responsible for all of the daily care that goes on in the zoo. They're responsible for cleaning all the cages, and in most cases, building of the cages, feeding the animals, helping medicate the animals. They spend an 8-hour day here at the college, and in that 8-hour day, they spend roughly 4 or 5 hours working with the animals and caring for the animals, and the rest they spend in classroom lecture time with the other instructors in the program.
All right, well, that should be enough. Okay, that'll be enough for fruit mix then. Okay, Kay can leave.
We learn to build the enclosures, what the animal needs out in the wild, what their environment in the wild is like, and try to closely duplicate it in captivity. And this way the animal is less stressed in captivity and more healthy, and that's basically the aim, is to have a low stress, healthy animal.
You can get a bachelor's degree in zoology anywhere in the country, but there's only one place where you can come and get your hands-on experience working every day with wild animals, and that's right here at the Biological Parks program.
That's Southern Circuit for this week. Thanks for being with us. Next week, the Laughs on Us when Southern Circuit meets the funniest guy in Florida. He's Daytona Beach's Bill Luby. We'll also make stops in Delray Beach, St. Augustine, and Panama City. We hope to see you then. Have a good week.
This program was made possible in part by a grant from Florida Public Broadcasting Service, Incorporated.